Rojhilatê, Eastern Kurdistan, is a land of towering mountains, rich culture, and fierce resistance. But for over a century, the Kurdish people here have lived under the shadow of repression, their identity denied, and their freedoms crushed. This is the story of Rojhilatê, its land, its people, and its century-long struggle. Eastern Kurdistan lies in northwestern Iran, bordering Iraq and Turkey. It covers major provinces like Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Elam. These mountainous regions are home to over 10 million Kurds, making up around 10 to 15% of Iran's population. Key Kurdish cities include Sanandaj, Sina, the cultural heart of Kurdish Iran, Mahabad, the birthplace of the 1946 Kurdish Republic, Kermanshah, Bugan, Sakaz, Elam, and Marivan, all centers of resistance and identity. Unlike the Shia Muslim majority of Iran, most Kurds in Rojhilatê follow Sunni Islam. Others follow Yarsanism, a mystical Kurdish faith, and a small minority are Shia. The dominant language is Sorani Kurdish, but Persian is imposed in schools and government. Resistance in Rojhilatê dates back to the 1920s and 30s. When Reza Shah Pahlavi took power in the 1920s with the help of British backing, he embarked on a sweeping modernization campaign aimed at forging a strong centralized Iranian state. In this process, ethnic minorities including Kurds, Azeris, and Baluchis were seen not as partners but as obstacles. Kurdish tribal leaders like Simko Agha of Shikak led revolts against Reza Shah's Persianization policies. His dream of a Kurdish state failed, but it ignited a fire that never died. When the Anglo-Soviet invaded Iran in 1941 to stop Reza Shah's Nazi ties, Kurdistan was split three ways: the Soviet zone, the British zone, and a buffer Kurdish zone between the two other zones. Republic of Mahabad was declared in 1946 in the buffer zone. It had a parliament, schools, even printing press, but Stalin sold them out for Iranian oil. Within a year, Iranian tanks rolled in. Leaders were hanged in the square. Qadi Muhammad was executed. The most important reason for the collapse was the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Iran in 1946 under the terms of the treaty signed between the Iranians, the British, and the Soviets, which allowed for Soviet participation in the exploitation of oil in north of Iran. In the 1950s, General Razmara, a Kurd from Kermanshah, and Prime Minister Muhammad Mossadegh tried to decentralize Iran and include minorities like the Kurds. But his attempt at oil nationalization and reform was crushed in 1953. General Razmara was assassinated and Mossadegh was overthrown by a British-American coup. After the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which promised justice for all, many Kurds supported the revolution, expecting recognition of their rights. Kurds hoped for autonomy. When Khomeini won the referendum and consolidated his power, he terminated negotiations with Kurdish leaders, banned discussions of Kurdish autonomy, and removed Kurds from their political posts. Dr. Qasimlo, the Secretary General of the KDPI, was labeled seditious and expelled from the Council of Experts. Between 1980 and 1983, a state of war between the Kurdish movement and the Iranian authorities began when Khomeini called for jihad against the Kurds. By the spring of 1944, the Iranian government had brought Kurdish territory under control, and Peshmergas were forced to retreat into Iraq. Negotiations resumed after the 1988, but in 1989, Dr. Abdul Rahman Qasimlu was assassinated during peace talks in Vienna by Iranian agents. In 1992, his successor was killed in Berlin. The message was clear: Kurdish voices would not be allowed to rise again. Rojhilatê today, a new generation rises, but the flame of Rojhilatê burns on. In 2022, a young Kurdish woman, Gina Amini, was killed by Iran's morality police. Her death sparked a nationwide uprising. Today, the eyes of the world are fixed on the growing conflict between Iran and Israel, a shadow war that's turning more open, more dangerous and more global. But while missiles are launched and propaganda fills airwaves, the Kurdish people of Rojhilatê remain trapped in silence, caught between powerful states and forgotten by the international community. Iran's regime uses external threats to tighten control internally, especially in Kurdish regions. Each time tensions rise with Israel or the West, Kurdish activists are arrested, executed or silenced under the guise of national security. And yet Kurds are neither Tehran's pawns nor Tel Aviv's allies. They are a people with their own identity, aspirations and cause, a people who have suffered under monarchy, secrecy and military repression while the world looked away. As the region burns, Rojhilatê still hopes not for war but for justice, recognition and peace. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch and do nothing.